Hesbon, would an apology proper be interpreted to be admission for liability and hence maybe open for legal claims by some of these people in Kenya?
Absolutely. An apology will definitely make it clear in black and white that they own up to the atrocities that they committed. And the moment you own up, what happens is then you're liable. And when you're liable, then you have to pay for it. And I think the conundrum here is that it might never stop, in Kenya. It might not be just a question of paying for the atrocities in this country. I mean, the British Empire was wide. It covered the whole world. And to that extent, you can actually rest assured that, the king, I think, outdid himself in making the speech that he made. We can interpret it as much as we want to interpret it, but at no point, did he outrightly own up to those atrocities. But, the beauty of this is that, the world has become a global village. And we can celebrate the many things that come with the king's visit. But, we need to situate it within the context that it needs to be situated. If the king has so many things on his in tray, and he chose to come to Kenya because of the invite from the president, then we need to ask ourselves, we definitely know what Kenya is getting from this. I mean, you don't need to go far. Anyone working within, the corridors of power will tell you how we can leverage this and market the country. There are business deals, bilateral deals that will be signed. That's okay. But why, among all the countries that are interested in having the king in those countries, did he choose Kenya? So all these things that we are celebrating, I think there's a bigger picture to it. What is in it for the king and Britain to visit Kenya at this particular time? It could be that...
Kenya is usually described as a very central hub on the continent, as the gateway into sub-Saharan Africa, basically. So they are also still gaining a lot, I would think, don't you?
Yes, and that's what we should focus on. What are they gaining by visiting Kenya? To what extent does Kenya portend to them a lever that is a lot more influential than if the king had gone to another country? And I think that is the reason why he came, not necessarily because he was invited. It is because you land in Kenya and the tentacles are very wide. Even the picture that you paint, of coming to Kenya is a picture that can sanitize almost any other thing. That if we manage to get it right in Kenya, then we can get it right elsewhere. But I think, we should not run away from the fact that it is not so much about Britain right now as it is about us Kenyans in so many fronts. So if you talk about the education system, our economy, you can certainly say that no one is blaming the colonial legacy for the education system that we have today, and no one can do that for the simple reason that 60 years down the lane, there's a lot that we've done. But you see, the fact that there are still squatters in this country, the fact that there are still people who were disenfranchised from the ancestral land is not a function of what the government of Kenya in itself can address. So if we have this intimate relationship with Britain, there's a part that they need to play when it comes to the deplorable condition in which most of the natives were left and they still live in. And there's a part that our establishment, the successive governments need to address. So we cannot run away and say, we can't queue. I mean, no one was going to queue to wait for handouts. But you see, there are certain things that have to be addressed, and I think it goes beyond. I mean, even if the government was to find a way of dealing with the land injustices, and it has proved very difficult successively. And why has it proved difficult? It has proved difficult because it has a colonial past to it that seems to be fossilized. So, I mean, if we have to harness from the intimate relationship that we have, there has to be a give and take, by Britain. How do they contribute? How do they deal with this situation? Or how do they support, the government of the day leverage on that. You know, if you listen to the conversations in most of the British media and the commentators in Britain, I mean, they're talking about very trivial things, you know, that they gave us the English language. I mean, it is unfortunate that in this day and age, someone can say that they gave us a language. In fact, the language that we speak in this country is Kenyan English. What we need to remind them is, if they were good to Kenyans and people in different parts of this world, they ought to have helped those people develop their languages.